Good morning, and thank you for being here. I'm Attorney General Kris Mayes. Today I am announcing that my office has filed a major consumer fraud lawsuit against Edward Trenton Albarazon, who also goes by the name Trenton Edwards, and his wife Gretchen Zomjan, also known as Gretchen Edwards. We are also suing more than 50 shell companies that they set up and used to carry out their fraud schemes. What we have uncovered is a predatory real estate operation that specifically targeted elderly Arizonans in financial distress, people facing foreclosure who were desperate to keep their homes. Instead of helping, these defendants tricked them out of the very thing, their homes, that most of us work our entire lives to own. So how did the scam work? The defendants lured vulnerable homeowners by distributing flyers and business cards, advertising companies with misleading names like Hands with Hope LLC. The defendants claimed to be problem solvers, offering to bring mortgages current so that homeowners could stay in their houses. But the offer of help was a lie, and it was a trap. Once in contact, the defendants told these homeowners that they had to temporarily transfer the deed to their home in order to save it. The homeowners were led to believe that the deeds were going into family trusts or living trusts, something common in real estate planning and something that sounded safe and familiar to all of us. In reality, those deeds were being signed over to deceptively named shell companies set up by Arizonans like Lupo Family Trust LLC. These were not trusts at all. They were limited liability companies controlled entirely by the defendants. And by signing, the homeowners unknowingly gave away ownership of their homes. But the defendants did this repeatedly. The defendants also distributed flyers stating, quote, "I'm not here to buy your house." You can see an example of that flyer here, which was in fact kind of true. They were actually there to steal homes, not to buy it. But the scam didn't stop there. Our complaint alleges that they even encouraged homeowners to file false bankruptcy or probate cases, anything to keep the scheme going and to keep victims confused and desperate. In short, Arizonans and Zamjan stripped people of their homes while promising to help them. And many of their victims were elderly and vulnerable, making this even more egregious. In fact, at least in 5 instances, the defendants allegedly targeted people with physical or mental impairments that rendered them unable to fully understand the nature of the agreements that they entered into. It's disgusting behavior, and it is against the law. These are crystal clear violations of the Arizona Consumer Fraud Act and the Adult Protective Services Act. It was deception, it was exploitation, and it was frankly absolutely immoral. To protect victims and to preserve assets for future restitution, my office also sought an emergency receivership over Arizonans and Zamjan's assets. The court granted that request last week and appointed Peter Davis as receiver. That means that every piece of property, every luxury vehicle, and every bank account controlled by these defendants is now under court supervision. We asked for this extraordinary measure not only because of the harm already done to victims, but also because Mr. Arizonans himself is now in a vulnerable position. He has apparently suffered a series of strokes following a cancer diagnosis, and there is evidence that his family members and others may be attempting to take advantage of him and gain control of his ill-gotten assets. The receivership will ensure that those assets are safeguarded while our case moves forward. Just like the equity stripping lawsuit that my office filed earlier this year in the Cameron Jones case, we are seeking restitution for the victims, civil penalties, and a permanent injunction that would bar Albarracin from ever buying or selling real estate in the state of Arizona again. We are also asking the court to void any deeds that were illegally notarized. Even though this case is only a week old, I am pleased to announce that I have already reached a preliminary agreement with defendant Gretchen Zomjan. She has agreed to cooperate with the receiver to identify bank accounts and other assets unknown to us, and she will cooperate with my office in providing documents and testimony about the scam. She also agreed to the permanent ban on real estate transactions in Arizona and to surrender her Arizona notary license. Importantly, Zomjan agreed to disclaim any interest in assets under receivership, including real estate and luxury vehicles. She also agreed to immediately return to the receiver approximately $120,000 in cash that she controlled as a result of the scam. I approved the agreement with Zomjan because it was important to secure her assistance with identifying assets for the receiver, and because she agreed to my two non-negotiable conditions for her and for anyone involved in real estate scams. First, she must agree to give back everything that she took, and she must never do real estate transactions in Arizona again. Let me be absolutely clear. If you target homeowners, if you prey on the elderly and the vulnerable, if you steal homes with lies and false promises, we will find you and shut you down, and we will bring you to justice. This is about more than property. It's about dignity and security and the right of Arizonans to live safely in their homes without being deceived. And I want to say this to the public. If you or anyone that you know has been approached through a website or a knock on the door or has been pressured to sign over a deed under the promise of help, please contact my office. We want to hear from you, and we will investigate. And I really want to underscore this point because we believe there are most likely many, many other victims out there. We would like you, if you believe you've been victimized by this scam or a similar scam, please reach out to our office either through our website or over the phone, and we hope to be able to help you. And even if you rejected the scam, if you are someone who realized that this was a scam, please contact our office because it will help us make the connections between these scammers. We believe there is a large network of scammers engaged in this equity stripping activity and this essentially outright stealing of homes, and we are in the process of connecting those dots. I want to say this case is being led for my office by senior litigation counsel Shane Ham, who is here in the room with us, and Assistant Attorneys General Liza Lawson and Suzanne Pendergast. I don't know if are they over here? There we go. And our Consumer Protection and Advocacy section. We will pursue this case aggressively. I promise you that. And as long as scams like this continue, in the state of Arizona. My office will go after these scammers and hold them accountable. So thank you all for being here, and I'd be happy to take any questions that you guys have. Yeah.
You called this illegal several times. Why are there no criminal charges here?
Well, so look, you know, it's always something that we look at. What we believed was that the best way to approach this was through a civil lawsuit, so that we could immediately go after the assets. I mean, really, in my mind, the most important thing is to seize these assets, to get them under the control of the court and the state, and try to get restitution back to consumers. So that was our number one priority.
Will charges follow then?
You know, I don't want to prejudge that, you know, right now. So, you know, we'll potentially take a look at that in the future. Right now, it's a civil case.
Was that part of the deal with Gretchen then, to avoid charges?
No, I don't believe it was. Nope.
How many properties are involved in this particular case, and how many properties have already been sold to unsuspecting homeowners that can't be salvaged?
Yeah, so let me take that first question first. So we believe that there are, at a minimum, hundreds of victims and hundreds of homes. The number could end up being even higher than that. We know from Zamjan's testimony so far and cooperation so far that the estate of Arizonans is worth millions of dollars. We know that there are luxury vehicles involved. We have already seized his North Scottsdale home. There are assets in Florida, we believe, as well. So one of the things that the receiver will be doing is unlocking this network of LLCs. You'll see in the complaint that the 50 different, I think it's 50 different LLCs that we uncovered that they were transferring people's homes into. And so this whole process of getting the receiver in place is really important, so that we can start to unwind that. But again, we do think that, you know, when you, and a big portion of this case really arose out of the Cameron Jones case, because Albarazin at one point was working with Cameron Jones and his associate, and we believe that there is a much wider network of scammers engaged in the same kind of activity out there, such that it is highly likely that there are hundreds of these scammers roaming the streets of Maricopa County, trying to steal people's homes out from underneath them. Hundreds of people.
Are there any people who do this kind of business legitimately when people are getting close to foreclosure and looking for relief?
Yeah, I mean, there are certainly people, licensed real estate agents, who can help people legitimately sell their home if they are in trouble. But the problem here is with equity stripping and with this activity here. I mean, in this case, these scammers were literally taking the entire home. So they were persuading people to put the entire home into an LLC that they controlled, the scammer controlled, when the homeowner thought that they were putting it into their own family trust, and they were deliberately naming it a trust, because people have that obviously in their minds as a safe way to control your own assets. So yes, there's help, but what we would recommend, and Shane can add to this, but what we would recommend is, you know, only do business with a trusted, licensed real estate broker or real estate agent, or a trusted attorney who is licensed in the state of Arizona.
Going back to the network of folks you're saying could be operating throughout the county, it seems that there's a level of interconnectedness here. I was wondering if you could explain that, for how you believe these different entities are interacting with one another.
Yeah, I mean, we think that this is so. I'll give you an example of why we think this is either interconnected or well known in this ecosystem. There are conversations on Reddit about this that are out in the open. There are seminars that are put on where people talk about, you know, how to get rich quick through these real estate schemes, and now we have uncovered these connections between these two major cases that our office has brought that strongly suggests to us that there are connections between the fraudsters. Maybe not entirely. Obviously, there are separate fraudsters. One of the things that we have noticed happening, that my team has noticed happening, is that when someone's home is goes onto the, I want to make sure I get this language correct. When someone's home, when a notice of trustee sale goes on the county recorder's website, you will often see dozens of these drivers or individuals that have been hired by the scammers racing to that person's home to try to be the first person to sign them up and scam them out of their homes. So there's a race. Once they see that information, there is a race to get to that person's home to try, and these are door knockers that have been hired, and it's kind of like a pyramid scheme. The lead fraudster will hire a team of door knockers to go out, and then they will promise that the successful door knocker maybe $5,000 kickback from the home that they steal. But sometimes it can take upwards of 100 door knocks in homes for that driver or runner to get their money. So it's extensive. We believe it's very extensive. Stacy.
So if you were the victims of this scam, the deed goes to these illegitimate LLCs, but what happens to them and their homes? Like, they no longer own them on paper, but are they also, do they get moved out, or like?
So great question. Shane, tell me if I mess this up, but it can be complicated. It can be a couple of different results or end results. We allege that one of Albarazon's favorite approaches was to get the homeowner to sign over their house. The homeowner would actually retain under their name the mortgage, and Albarazon would get the homeowner to pay him rent to stay in the home. So it was kind of a leaseback situation. I mean, it was totally illegitimate. They didn't own the home anymore. They also still owned the mortgage. And then if the homeowner missed 1 or 2 or 3 rent payments, he or she ended up getting evicted. So Albarazon would evict them. He would offer to pay the mortgage. Sometimes he did pay the mortgage. Toward the end, he apparently was not paying the mortgage, and then he would just evict them. So
would they have to pay the mortgage to their mortgage company and then this like rent payment, or it all went through him?
It all went through him, I believe. Is that right, Shane? Yeah. Sorry.
azhomebuyer.com is still up and functional right now. It says they're BBB accredited. It says they're honest, reliable, and fair. Are you going to take that site down?
It's not related anymore to the current scheme.
Apparently it's not related anymore to the current scheme.
Oh, okay. It said
Did that-
azhomebuyer.com on the
It's
first
also a
slide.
different domain owner.
It was sold to a different domain owner,
Okay,
apparently.
so, okay.
Yeah.
You'll be
Very
keeping an eye
important
on
to
that
know.
website?
We'll be, yes, we will be keeping it, thanks for,
Yeah,
eagle eye there, but yeah.
Um,
Eagle eye from our good reporters here.
The deal Gretchen cut on this whole thing, what did she get out of it?
Well, obviously, it was a tough call. I will say it was a tough call for our team and for me to do this deal. But, she will be less responsible for civil damages, civil penalties. More of our focus obviously is now on Albarracin. We did think that it was imperative, given what we saw happening with Albarracin's family members trying to get control of all of these assets, to get as much information from her as we could, as quickly as we could. Because you can imagine if somebody else were to get access to these homes or to the money, that it could be offshored, it could be sent out through Bitcoin, it could be sent out through wire transfer, and then it's just almost impossible to get it back. So we wanted to get that. So with her testimony and her cooperation, we feel much better about being able to get as many of these homes back and as much of the money as we possibly can get back for these largely seniors who've been defrauded.
In that court fund, do you know the dollar amount that's in there right now?
Which fund that he has, or that the receiver has?
The receiver has now.
I would say it's probably that the value is millions. I mean, because we have multiple homes, I believe, that we already have. We have cars that we have seized. We have bank accounts that we have seized, or money in bank accounts. The amount of money is only going to go up because she's giving us information in a real-time basis about where the money is and where the bank accounts are, where the houses are. It's highly likely that there are going to be LLCs we don't even know about yet, where the houses have been stashed. And so that's why, again, I want to reinforce this, like, we really want people to contact us. If you have ever had any contact with these individuals, we believe it's possible that some people may not even know yet that their house was stolen from them. They may be making these rent payments, or they just may not know yet. Sometimes this scheme is being discovered by family members after their loved one has passed away. So they're in the estate settlement process and they discover that the home was stolen by Albarracin.
What's the, I'm sorry.
I just was asking about the timeline. You mentioned this is growing and active, but yeah, when was the office first tipped off and started pursuing this?
Yeah, also a great question. So I would say Albarracin has been on our radar screen for, I would call it multiple years. When you read the complaint, you'll realize that he lost his real estate license back in, I believe, 2015. And for similar bad behavior. The extent of his schemes and fraud really came to our attention during our Cameron Jones investigation. And so we believed that it was important to open up a separate investigation and a separate case on Albarracin, specifically because of the breadth and scope of it and how huge it was.
What is the update on the Cameron Jones case?
It's ongoing. It's ongoing. We're still in the process of working through that. And working through trying to recover assets.
Have any of his co-defendants made any deals, or have there been any assets recovered from that case?
Yes, assets have been, I believe. Shane, do you want to speak to that?
There's no receivership in that case.
Oh, we don't have that's right. We don't
but
have
we have had one consent judgment with one of the people who was a door knocker in that scheme.
Yes, so the answer is we've had a consent judgment with one of the door knockers in that case. We don't have a receiver in that case.
Because you haven't tried for it because there's no money there?
We just, from a litigation standpoint, we thought it was better to go this route, and this, I think it's probably safe to say this case was more, we had the more of an opportunity to get assets back through a receiver in this case. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna change gears a little bit, and they've asked me to ask this question about the Arizona DEA agents in DC.
Mm-hmm. Yes. As you all know, we do a lot of work with the DEA. I think it's fair to say the vast majority of the DEA's prosecutions, we work closely together, combating the Mexican drug cartels. They are an incredibly important part of our law enforcement infrastructure in the state of Arizona. And I am disgusted, frankly, to learn that Donald Trump took 60 of our DEA agents out of Arizona, plucked them out of Arizona, and sent them to Washington, D.C., where they apparently are patrolling places like Foggy Bottom and Georgetown and doing routine traffic stops instead of helping me combat the Mexican drug cartels. I mean, Arizona is the fentanyl funnel for the rest of the country. And I find it absolutely outrageous that any president would endanger our entire country in this way when you really think about it, not to mention the state of Arizona. So I call on Donald Trump to give me our DEA agents back right now. And any FBI agents that have been taken out of the state of Arizona or sent over to Los Angeles, I believe that our DEA and FBI agents have also been sent to Los Angeles. They need to come back. They need to do their regular jobs. They need to not be chasing gardeners and landscapers around Home Depots and Georgetown in Washington, D.C.
Can you speak
Yes.
on that point? You have previously raised a concern that there aren't enough of those agents here working on the border anyway. So if 60 of them are gone, who is policing the border in Arizona?
Well, it's a great question, Stacy. I sent a letter. In fact, I have called on both the Biden administration and the Trump administration to send us more DEA agents. We needed 50 more DEA agents in Arizona to combat the Mexican drug cartels. Instead, what Trump has done is he has taken 60 of our existing DEA agents and sent them off to Washington, D.C. to do routine traffic stops. That is nonsensical, and it makes Arizona less safe. And so I don't know. I mean, I have no idea why the federal government and the Trump administration in particular thought this is a good idea, but it's a terrible idea. And I want those DEA agents back. And it is harming our ability to do drug prosecutions, because as I said, we work hand in glove with the DEA to not only investigate major drug trafficking cases in Arizona, but then I do the prosecutions. So if these DEA agents are out in Georgetown and Washington, D.C., they can't be here with me doing these prosecutions and doing these investigations. And the same goes for the fact that they sent them to Los Angeles for absolutely no reason.
So like ballpark, how many are here?
It's my understanding that there's about 300, subject to check, I believe there are about 350 total DEA agents in Arizona, and they just sent 60 of them to Washington, D.C. I don't know how many of them have been shipped off to Los Angeles, but I believe there are a fair number who have been sent to Los Angeles. And I would also add, that doesn't even count the number of FBI agents that have been sent to Washington and to LA, or the number of ATF agents, or the number of HSI agents, all of whom work on drug trafficking cases with me and they work on sex trafficking cases with me, and they work on human smuggling cases with me. Why are they in Washington, D.C., stopping people for, traffic violations rather than being right here in Arizona fighting the Mexican drug cartels?
Have you had any communication from the DOJ, from the DEA about when you might expect them back?
No. I don't think they ever even responded to my first letter asking for more DEA agents to come to Arizona. No, unfortunately, no, I haven't. We do intend to send another letter to Pam Bondi asking for the agents back. I would like all of our agents back in Arizona, FBI, DEA, HSI, ATF. And they better not start sending them to other places like New York or Chicago also.
I have another.
I mean, I'll object, obviously, if they do that, but yeah, Wayne, sorry.
Federal question. The New York Post reported this morning that the Department of Commerce is canceling some CHIPS Act related funding that was going to help build a CHIPS facility at ASU. Given that that's another example of congressional funding, it seems to be, is that something that's on your radar? Have you heard about this? Do you have funding any action?
It's something I've been concerned about. I had been hearing rumors about the possibility of this. It's very, very concerning. And yes, it is certainly something that we will be looking at in terms of whether it's illegal and unconstitutional, just like many of the other 25 lawsuits that we have filed. Especially if it was a prior congressional authorization, it would seem to me that it would fall under the same bucket as something that was done illegally by the Trump administration. We'll obviously have to follow up on that. It's the first I had heard about the ASU one, but we'll have to follow up on the details of it to find out when the congressional authorization occurred. Obviously, that's something that we often file lawsuits related to separation of powers and violations of the APA. All right. Any other questions? Thanks, you guys, for coming down. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And Richie is available on chain for follow-up if you have any. So.
Thank you.
Thank you, General.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
I can follow up too.
Awesome.